how many of you have ever worked during weekend or vacation? Wow. How many of you have ever felt guilty taking a break while work was still to do? Okay. But what if I would told you that resting and doing nothing is the key to achieve high performance? Dolce far niente is Italian and translated means the sweetness of doing nothing. In German, süßes Nichtstun. In Turkish, hiçbir şey yapmamanın keyifli. I'm a melting pot. I was born in Germany from an Italian father and Turkish mother. I lived in Germany, Italy, and now in Turkey. And for my way, I could always choose, I had the privilege to choose the best of those cultures. For leading myself, I choose the Italian way. So dolce far niente is Italian, and it's a saying and a philosophy. And it's about slowing down and unplug. The place where I connect this slowing down and this philosophy is in the middle of nowhere in Italy. The village where my father was born, Palcano, 2 hours driving from Rome and Florence. The village is built on a mountain. It's surrounded by mountain and sweet hills with trees full of fruits. The medieval village has ancient and steep streets, stone houses. We are seeing as first the sun, and it shines until late, while down in the city it's already dark. The atmosphere is serene, authentic. In the past, while my father was young, 500 people were living there. There was also a bar. My mom was the first Turkish woman, was the first woman in that bar. Now, 10 people are living there. My father went in young years to Germany for work, met my mother. They built up a family. But each year, several times, we went to Italy. They built there a house with a big garden, with a nice terrace, with that view. And I have always one picture in my mind, how my mom and dad are sitting in the evenings on the terrace with a bottle of wine, 2 glasses, and just listening the sound of nature. Dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing. And every culture has its own way to do. But in our modern business life, it seems there is no time to slow down. We feel guilty. We don't take the time to rest. And, but it's important to unplug and focus on yourself to keep high performance. I will explain you now some examples what I mean, and I will get used from science. First, in professional sport, the resting day is an accepted habit. Usain Bolt, the greatest sprinter of all time, 8-time Olympic gold medalist, world record holder of 100 and 200 meters, was sleeping 8 hours per day, training 6 days per week, 11 months per year. The resting was an integral part of his training routine. And it is scientifically proven that it was not only to recover his energy or to prevent injuries, but build the muscle which he was training for. Second, what about our intellectual performance and the engine of it, our brains? Our brain holds 2% of the body mass, but consumes 25% of the energy. It sends signal through the body, elaborates information, predicts the future, creates brilliant ideas. There are plenty of researchers proving that the brain, while it's at rest, optimizes learning and future performance. Computers and artificial intelligence are inspired by the human brain. Our brain is basically a supercomputer. Now, what are 99% of us doing when the computer does not work properly? We are pushing the reset button. And third, now the apple comes into the play. How was gravity discovered? Everybody knows the story of Isaac Newton. If not, I will remind you. In 1666, Isaac Newton, in late summer, went to his family house for a vacation and in eastern England. And he wanted to take a rest, and he sat down an apple tree, and he was just doing nothing. While an apple fell on his head, and bam, he discovered gravity. Let me tell you, that's a legend. Maybe the story is not fully true, but I like that it was true. I like to imagine that in that moment of complete relax, after years of research, Isaac Newton was able to put all the pieces of puzzle together and finally discover gravity. So, what works for sports, what works for computers, what works for discover gravity seems not to work for our business life. But it's important to recharge, to unplug, to keep high performance. What does high performance mean to me? I'm leading an engineering department in Bursa, and we are developing gasoline and hydrogen products. We are crashing the development time from 3 years to 6 months, and we are leading quality task forces that in the last years saved millions of euros. How do we achieve this high performance? One key element that represents me also is ownership. Ownership means being accountable and saying, I'll do it. How you can show ownership? You need to be full of energy. You need to be ready to go for that extra mile. That team is a high-performance team, and they love to go for that extra mile. And as a leader, we as leaders have a responsibility. We are role models. So I need to keep my energy, my power high. I need to keep high performance. And how I'm doing it? From time to time, I slow down and I unplug. And how do I unplug? I love to lay on sandy beaches, practicing sport. But what works most for me is going to Palcano, sitting on a terrace with my wife, having a bottle of wine, 2 glasses, and listen the sound of nature. Practicing the high art of Dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing. This will lead to high performance. Sounds like a paradox, but it's not. It's the science behind it.